Hello, and welcome to another episode of the USL show. It's another episode of This Week in the USL. It's just me, once again, Kaylor Hodges, and just going to kind of briefly give you an update on some stuff. Normally, these come out on Tuesdays, as you all are mostly aware of, but we had to push it back. I had some personal life stuff going on. Also, we were just kind of waiting on some more news. We knew there was some other stuff that was coming out and yeah, we were just kind of waiting. Um, we have some updated news on some players that are in and some players that are out. But I think, well, the second biggest news, and I think the one that caught the majority of people off guard, is Mark Lowry is out at Indy. Now, where he's going next, that is yet to be made official. But I think this one caught a lot of people off guard. And the rumor mill on Twitter now, whether we can get into specifics of what happened there, that's for somebody else. If I'm being really honest here, until you directly hear from Mark or the club post something official, always know that everything's a little bit hearsay, right? But the common thing in the Twitter streets is that Mark wasn't happy necessarily with ownership necessarily. Now, again, rumor mill, that is what's happening on the internet, right? But if that's what you read, that's what it is. Now, there's been a lot of conversation that, hey, maybe Mark Lowry actually liked it here. But, if you remember, one of our biggest episodes that we ever had on the USL show was the Pro Rel discussion. And a big part of that conversation was not the Pro Rel discussion. It was Mark Lowry losing his mind um, over basically his players talking to fans, and it caused an uproar with fans as well. That was a big reason. And the Mark Lowry time in Indy was fun, and they brought in a lot of great players, and it was really, really exciting. But it was definitely turbulent at times. So you can't help but feel that there was some friction somewhere. And Lowry getting another opportunity is inevitable, whether it is at the MLS or USL level. That is yet to be made official, but we'll see. Um, I think it's interesting now that we have seen multiple coaches leave Indy, and the old coach, whom I am blanking now, and I'm really sorry, Indy fans, um, straight up stated that lack of support. Now, can Lowry truly say lack of support after signing his all-star team last year? I don't know. Um, but that's still interesting. Um, for Indy to be considered to be one of the staples of lower league soccer in the US, highly, I mean, it's one of the most stable places. They're getting a stadium, right? You don't just get a stadium if you're unstable. Well, anyway, um, that's just one of those it kind of goes hand in hand, right? It's interesting to me. Very, very interesting. I'm that's Indy is a situation I am highly monitoring because I'm interested to see who goes there, and I'm interested to see if they go with a different idea. Now, he's not going anywhere, but Zayed's a guy who's at Northern Colorado. Is eventually someone I think I would like to see at Indy. He is a guy who was in an Indy player himself, and maybe returning somewhere that you played is interesting. But for Northern Colorado, they have a great thing going, and we'll go to their roster decisions in a little bit. But I thought that was just something interesting there. The other big news that happened that came out was you have our oh gosh, Milwaukee. They are now suspending, or they are postponing to 2026. I Okay. I This sounds awful, but with Milwaukee postponing until 2026, I think that was frankly always going to happen. Um, that a little rude. But I do think that that was something that was it, we hadn't seen enough to show that they were going to be able to make that timeline. And my brain says whatever team or whatever time that a club says they're going to be joining the league, add a year to it. That sounds horrible, but it's the truth. And I think a lot of these ownerships are a little overzealous in what they're planning. I think sometimes they think it's, oh, we're bringing professional soccer here. City going to give money, or City will give us stadium, or this place will surely let us use their venue. Right. I mean, I'm not saying look at One Knox. One Knox is in a fantastic position, but they're playing out at the University of Tennessee Stadium. That's a fantastic place. Which, by the way, if you haven't been out to, if you're in the Knoxville area, the University of Tennessee has a great stadium setup. So I'm not trying to crap on their parade. I love that stadium. It's a great place to go, but not everywhere has that kind of setup done. I mean, Lexington caught a little bit of flack for not being able to use Kentucky Stadium, right? University of Kentucky Stadium. They're not there. That was something that was you have to work out. And I think that Milwaukee kind of, a little bit of was the phrase putting the cart in front of the horse. Is that it? Um, I think they were a little overzealous. I'm not too worried about Milwaukee. I until I see players announced and a coach signed, I kind of see USL announcements of team coming to city. It's kind of 50-50. Until I see the first bit of front office signed, it's kind of not real to me. And that sounds awful, but it's just kind of the landscape. You can put together an ownership group. I mean, Jacksonville just got is it Fred Jones, maybe? Fred something. I should know this. Being someone who's in the South, you would think that I would know football people, but no, I don't. um, but they got their they got a new ownership person as well. I I don't know. I want to Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor. Somebody saying Fred Jones. Who's Fred? I don't know. I don't know who Fred Jones is. Maurice Jones-Drew. That's who I was thinking of. I was all over it. I know Jacksonville. Was I in Jacksonville? I don't know. There's a lot of rambling you don't care about. Um, but Jacksonville, they got they got new ownership. They are, Fred Taylor's there. Obviously we know Tim Tebow's there. Until they hire a front office person, like a director of football and a coach, it's not real to me. That's just the way my brain works, though, and that's just kind of the nature of the lower league beast. We got some recent players and teams announcing some stuff, so let's kind of talk about it. Today was kind of or these last few days have been interesting for Hartford. Jay Chapman, Emmanuel Samadia, and Thomas Van Kaziel joining the team out in Hartford. Van Kaziel has not played in about a year and a half after an injury with Tampa Bay. Jay Chapman goes over. Very interesting. Cannot wait for that coaching announcement to be made official so we can all kind of talk about that. Out in Loudon, Koa Santos and Aiden Rocha are both available. Actually, that's not true. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but they were released by Loudon, but that's kind of all we know. We have out in Memphis, I don't know if we officially talked about this, with Carson Baumsteeg, Akeem Ward, Lucas Turchi, Bruno Lapa, Samuel Caraga, Luis Fernando, Knight Pickering, Aaron Steger, and Emerson Heidemann. Those guys are officially in for Memphis. I think we talked about that, but I'm not positive. For Monterey Bay, this one is interesting. Rafael Baca is out. Hugh Roberts, the all-time USL minutes getter, appearance leader, he is out, which is kind of crazy to me. James Murphy is out. Jesus Enriquez is out. Sean Oakley or Okoli is out. Who's Sean Okoli being out? That's just a USL heritage one for me. That one's a fun one, just in general. Novello Yoseke is out as well. And Christian Valeski is out, who he is their goal getter. He is one that's very interesting to me. I'm shocked he's gone unless he has a better offer or there's something that happened behind the scenes. Because Valesky was one of their best players last year, and that one's interesting. Hugh Roberts gone makes me sad. I hope he doesn't retire. Hugh, please keep playing. I I just want him to keep going. Monterey Bay also announces that Murray Donner gets an extension. Who I love, Murray Donner. I think he's a fantastic right back. He is so much fun to watch. He gets a contract extension, a 2-year plus an option, which I love that. For me, the sign of a healthy franchise, knock on wood, um, is if teams are getting stadium stuff, getting ready for that, if they have real stadium being built plans, and if teams are handing out 2-year contracts. Most contracts are 1-and-1s, and it's partially so, hey, kind of prove it. If we like you, we'll keep you around. Also, if we're being real, it's we don't have money tied up for the next 2 years, and if we have to cease to exist, we can do that. Sounds awful, but it's true. A la RGV, which the RGV rumors are getting pretty strong. Um, at this point, there's still kind of rumors, and I should have opened up the show with this, and I promise we'll get there. We'll continue working on this, but we'll work through these roster stuff. RGV, some people were asking why isn't it working? Think about the hotbed that it's in and all that kind of stuff. I said this on the USL show a while back. RGV is a victim of themselves. And I kind of hate to say that, but look at Loudon, right? Loudon went from being a dependent, if you will. They were a part of DC United to being independent. They did all of the gimmicky stuff to try to get fans in. We all watched the 10 a.m. like mimosa brunch time Memphis versus Loudon game this year. I think we all watched that. And they had some of the most fans they had there. Kids were there. And guess what? If kids want to go, parents will buy the tickets, especially if the tickets are cheap. You can tell that Loudon is kind of ran by minor league baseball people. And that's not in a roasty kind of way. That's not like minor league. No, I mean, minor league baseball people know how to get fans in the stands, and Loudon's doing that well. I actually really like what Loudon is doing. Meanwhile, on the other hand, RGV didn't really dive into that. They kind of said we're independent now, and people should start showing up, and it didn't happen. I don't want to say their demise was necessarily their own fault, but it it feels like it kind of is, if that is officially the case, but kind of feels like that's what's happening. Anyway, with that tangent kind of to the side, we have Anthony Sahia staying, Adrian Roboyar, or is it Robolar? I always get confused. Chase Boone, Kai Green, Sam Gleedle, Carlos Herrera, or oh my gosh, Herrera, um, Moby Fair, Grant Robinson, Simon Dawkins, Jesse Maldonado, Alex Dixon, who was on a multi-year deal, I do believe, Max Glasser, Alex Lara, and Walmer Martinez. Those guys, excluding me, absolutely just destroying names. Herrera, I don't know why I messed that one up so bad. Bless my heart. They are, you know, they are here. That's a good core from Monterey Bay. I like that one a lot. I don't know if we talked about North Carolina, Preston Pop and Nathan Talu and Talu are going to be around. That one's a fun one. The rest of these, I think we discussed. I'm fairly. Oh no, Pittsburgh. We did not talk about Pittsburgh. Uh, Junior Etu, Mike DeShields, Danny Rovira, Langston Blackstock, Patrick Hogan, Ilal Osamanu, DZ Harmon, Edward Kizza, Danny Griffin, Robbie Mertz, and Kiardo Forbes are all in or are all on contract for Pittsburgh. And I think they might have posted who's in, but I don't think so. And the last little bit of news, I do believe that we kind of need to talk about is going to be Detroit City. Detroit City announces a lot here, where they have their new coach who makes his way from Sacramento, Danny Dicio. He's making his way from Sacramento, and there's I like the hire. I like the hire a lot. I think that this is a good move for Detroit City. We can't say that he is Mark Briggs, obviously, but if he kind of keeps that same idea of a three-man back line where you're kind of bombing the wings the whole time and, getting it to the spine, I think that works well for this Detroit City team, especially with them kind of announcing who they're going to have this next year with Stephen Carroll, Maxi Rodriguez, Connor Rutz, Matt Lewis, Jop, Reese Williams, Yazid Matthews, Devin Amu-Mensah, Scott Simonson, Dominic Gasso, which keeping him long-term is awesome. Michael Bryant, Ben Morris, Brett Levis, really good stuff. Now, the people who are out, Adrian Billhart, that's a big one to me. Circle that because he was incredible when he played, especially when back in League One with Tormenta. Keep an eye on that. Nate Steinwasser out, but they are working on a contract apparently. But if Nate Steinwasser is free and he's not retiring, oh boy, get ready for that. There's no way he doesn't get snatched up by MLS in my brain. If he is a free, he should be. Ryan Shello, Dario Suarez, another really good player that should be getting picked up. Dario, maybe he goes back home to Tulsa. I don't think so, but it could be interesting. Richard Ballard, O'Neal Fisher, Jalen Robinson, and Aaron Bibout. Those guys are out at Detroit City. We did talk about some of the people who are out at Colorado Springs, but Koa Santos is going to be in. He is taking up that right back spot. And I think we talked about who was out as well. Drew Skundrich, Jay Chapman, who signs at Hartford, Joe Kosminski, Jimmy Ockford, Aaron Wheeler, Deshane Beckford, Dennis Erdman, and Romario Williams, which Romario Williams being available is kind of crazy to me too. A lot of news. Sacramento gets a new backup goalkeeper and make way from Greenville. If I can find his name again, I remember it. Jared Mazzola. Which if you want to know about any League One transfers, go to league1updater.com. Alex does a great job at updating that. If you look up League One Updater on Twitter or just League One spelled out, not the number, but the ONE, league1updater.com, League One transfer tracker there. But Jared makes way from Greenville, who I liked him for Greenville. He kind of gave you exactly what you wanted. His goals allowed versus expected goals allowed were pretty much exactly the same. I think he was allowing 1.1 goals a game. Meanwhile, he was expected to give up 1.0 goals a game. So he was pretty much right on track. And if he ends up playing behind the Sacramento defense, I think he's fine. He does exactly what you expect of him. If that defense is letting through chances, he's probably not going to stop all of them, but he'll stop the ones you expect him to. And that's kind of what you want, especially at this level. If you are dealing with a Cicerone, a Mine, Roro Lopez as a striking option, you're going to be just fine with scoring goals. So good for Sacramento. I think that's a nice natural successor if he can grow the 24-year-old for Vitello. If he can grow under him, I think that's a great option. Other than that, we have Northern Colorado. They were kind of doing their thing, if I can find that. We have Trevor Mon, who's obviously out. Donald Benema. Oh my gosh, Mena. Why is mess up his name? I feel so bad. Joel Chavez, Stefan Lukic, Destin Norman, Brandon Rosas, Valentin Sabaya, Ryan Wittenbrink are all out, which Ryan retired. And I think that was about it. Everybody else has not announced anything, and I kind of wish they would. Please, League One, start announcing things. I am getting antsy. Oh, man. But that's really about it. I think that's about all to really talk about. This one was kind of all over the place. I am very sorry. Actually, I say that I want to kind of see what the questions were on the tweet we put out on This Week in the USL comes out tomorrow. What needs to be discussed? Make sure anything that else is going on. 2024 alignment, assuming RGV is dead. It should be equal again. I'm assuming that Tulsa and there's another team that's going to go west. If you want to do the geography math, there's another team that could go west and that are. But anyway, if I had to, and who is calling me? Don't call me right now. And if this doesn't give away when I am signed or when I am recording this, Ruxy for Tulsa just signed, which that is cool. Very, very nice. Good, good for him. Yeah, this is a lot of rambling. This is probably not a great listen. Sorry about it. If you had a player on loan from MLS, time to start checking those MLS transfer trackers as well, because most of those players have been released. So yeah, start seeing and start believing and praying that your favorite loanee can come back. There you have it. Thank you all so much for listening. If I missed something, let me know. Hopefully some new stuff on the horizon. And yeah, thank you all so much for listening. And for the last time and only time today, whenever you listen, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.